Hello there, my fellow men and women of science, my intellectual compadres. My name is... well, you probably couldn't pronounce it. You know what? The name isn't all that important anyway. What is important is that I am a vault scientist. Kinda. I'm from Vault 58 from a previous series, but don't worry if you didn't watch it, that's completely fine. Just know that I'm out here on my own mission. Before I departed, I managed to talk the Overseer into creating me a couple of Constructrons to help me out with a special project that I have in mind that he's completely unaware of. For you see, my friends, here in the Wasteland, I shall be creating my own perfect laboratory. Not to worry, as I am still on good terms with my old vault residents after creating some nuclear bombs for them. Hard for them to be mad at me for leaving after that. Yes, only a couple of robot slaves to do all the building and my bidding for me. Such humble beginnings. But enough yapping, let's get started. To begin, we're going to be ripping down some pre-war ruins and wreckage. That way we can build ourselves something of a makeshift shelter. The Wasteland is a cruel and horrible place, especially at nighttime, and I'm afraid that my Constructrons couldn't protect me if I were sleeping out in the open. And though yes, it must be said that this poor little dilapidated shack is hardly any better than sleeping out in the open, it is slightly better. And I'll take those odds, I suppose. Though it must be said that this isn't much of a laboratory. As I said earlier, humble beginnings, my friends, humble beginnings. It is a decent enough place for us to begin our work on creating the perfect super soldier. Yes, you heard me right. You'll see what I'm talking about later. For now, I must bid you good night. For I am rather tired, and there is much to be done. Perhaps one of the greatest things about having our Constructrons is that even while I sleep at night and get some much-needed shut-eye for my brain and for my body, they can go about deconstructing all of these ruins in the area, collecting resources for us. Resources like steel and also some stone blocks that are absolutely crucial to our expansion of the shabby, dilapidated shack, as well as our storage outside to put everything. Much of the old pre-war wreckage like vertibird parts and machinery and things like that would also yield a lot of steel and components that we could use to build ourselves a windmill and some rechargers for the Constructrons. Ideally, we end up having some type of nuclear fusion generating all of our power before too long, but baby steps, people, baby steps. Right now, we just need to ensure that the only two things that are constructing everything for us don't end up dying with their batteries depleted out in the wasteland for some scavengers to come and pick them apart. Speaking of which, that's exactly what we would start doing to some old cars and what have you, and we're actually going to start using this scrap metal to build some furniture inside the laboratory. I grow weary of sleeping on the floor, even with my wrinkled, irradiated ghoul skin. I like to be a bit comfortable when I can, but now with a decent bit of furniture at my disposal, I think it's time we start working on our proper laboratory. Or at least what we can for now, such as a large battery to store up power. That way, our growth vat will never run out of electricity. Now with our vat built and in place, all we need is a specimen. I had considered maybe using the Constructrons to try to kidnap a raider or something, but we settled in the perfect area. For you see, there is a colony of super mutants just due west of here, and it wouldn't take long at all before our specimen would come to us. A great big green fellow going by the name of Meat. I suppose you'll do, but we won't know until we can manage to get you on the operating table, eh? That being said, that also means that we have to try not to kill you, which is going to be a problem, you large brutish beast, as you are attempting to kill us. Luckily, our Constructrons just so happen to have a few laser weapons at their disposal. The two of them would quickly close in on Meat here and start blasting at him. Once he had taken a little bit of damage, we would close in for a good old-fashioned beatdown. I think Meat here is going to be a great specimen for a super soldier, as he could take one hell of a beating as our Constructrons bunked him on the head several times with their large metallic arms. Eventually, though, he would fall. Alive, no less, thank God. Not to worry, my hideous, staggeringly ugly green new friend. You are going to serve a much higher purpose than simply eating humans and deathclaw feces out in the wasteland. You are about to be something so much greater. But first, of course, we need to ensure that you're not going to bleed to death out here or get any infection from those laser blasts. Just enough to get you back home. We don't currently have an operating table, so I suppose my own bed will have to suffice. Quite the sacrifice letting this grotesque beast lay in it for science, but one that I'm willing to make. Now then, let's power up the old growth vat, and first, most importantly, let us get some of that sweet DNA meat, old buddy, old pal. Please, my friends, my colleagues, I insist that you pay close attention, for what you are witnessing right now, in this very moment, is history in the making. Some of the grandest achievements that science has to offer. You, my beautiful, disfigured embryo friend, are going to be the greatest soldier known not only to the wasteland, but to the world. And more than that, my very own creation. My child, perhaps even. Ah, meat, I had almost forgotten about you. Here, let's strip you of your armor, and then we'll take you outside and, we'll release you back to the wasteland. Yes, that's it. Go on, meat. Be free, my friend. Be free. Well, it doesn't get much freer than that, I suppose. Let your soul be free, assuming you have one. Listen, the wasteland isn't exactly a kind place, okay? And that is honestly a pretty merciful death, if I say so myself. Besides, the bog hounds have to eat, do they not? Ooh, some of the meat that Meat had in his pockets would also be perfect for growing my new child clone of, well, meat, of course. But this little bit of meat isn't going to continue fueling him forevermore. We need a proper food source. We created a teeny tiny little field next to our makeshift laboratory. That way we can go about growing some crops, not only for us to eat, but of course, as mentioned, for our little growing clone. Ah yes, potatoes, the lifeblood of America. Or, you know, at least what's left of it, I suppose. The perfect fuel source for our little super soldier to be. But as our crops are growing, and as is our little clone super soldier that we're creating, we're also going to be deconstructing more ruins, collecting more resources. The reason for that, I must tell you that I would much rather prefer our operation not be so damn obvious and out in the open. I would prefer it be perhaps under a mountain. But perhaps I have become a little bit too accustomed to the vault city that I was living in. Nevertheless, though, still much safer under the cold, hard stone where we could keep our secrets forever. The biggest issue that we currently face with mining out a proper laboratory under a mountain is, well, we don't have any way of going about mining it. Of course, I could mine, but my skill isn't all that high. I'm much more of a researcher and scientist than a manual labor sort of fellow. So, I think we should go about gestating some new robots who specialize in this sort of thing. I love our constructrons, don't get me wrong, but they don't have any way to go about mining. So, we are actually going to begin working on some utilitrons who are perfect for what we need. Described as being built for labor and logistics, cheap, sturdy, and great for mining. I mean, I don't think it gets much more simple than that, eh? Although, even so, we do have to wait a couple of days before the machine fully assembles our new utilitron, so I guess we have plenty of time to kill. Most of this time would be pretty well spent collecting more resources, doing a bit of a construction, as well as harvesting our first big batch of potatoes to feed to our little bubblegum baby in his test tube. That way he can grow big and strong, just like we need him to. And with that, my friends, our first utilitron was finally ready for action and for deployment. Hello, hello, you little hard-headed rock-grinding machine, quite literally. Let's get to work, eh? Lucky enough for us, there was a pretty large mountain formation due south from our current whereabouts where we've settled in, and we immediately started digging out a decent-sized tunnel as well as what appears to be a decent-sized laboratory. Or at least what we plan on using as a laboratory, of course. This did take quite a while. As mentioned, we've only made the one utilitron so far, and he's great. but I really should invest in another. I'm just a bit too cheap on resources at the moment. Now, this exact same mountain did have a large vein of steel ore that we could use and repurpose as some proper flooring and doorways and what have you into our facility. We need to make sure that it's locked down tight. I mean, what would be the point of doing all this hard work if just anybody could easily breach our doors, come in, and do whatever they want? We have to make sure that it's sturdy, solid, and impenetrable. But as we were working on our new laboratory, it looks like our little mutated freak was finally ready to be born. Oh, there, you little nuclear waste pile. Come here. Shh, no worries, little fellow. You are going to grow to be big and strong and kill lots of people for Papa. Okay? Yeah, you're okay. A face that only a test tube daddy could love. I suppose you're healthy enough, though, and you seem fine. Now we just need to put you back in there and wait until you're old enough to actually kill people and do what we need you to do. Otherwise, I suppose you'll probably end up being food for the next clone who might actually be what we want. But that's assuming that you're not exactly the super soldier that we plan on being, which I know you will be, little fella. For your sake. Now then, while he's growing, if you'll excuse me, I am going to begin working on a high-tech research bench along with a wood-fired generator. That way, we can actually start researching some proper technology to make a lot of power. As I had previously touched on, my field of expertise is nuclear fusion, and so we're going to be going with a pretty small nuclear-powered generator to start off with the laboratory. I am pretty familiar with this technology already, but unfortunately I left my blueprints for these machines back at the vault. We kinda have to start from square one with some of this, because, as I'm sure you could guess, actually knowing how the machine works and generates power is completely different than knowing how to build it and knowing which screw goes where and not causing a nuclear meltdown on the inside of the base here. Yeah. Speaking of which, as I was looking into this technology, our constructrons were hard at work building up some proper storage facilities within our hallway. This, of course, is just temporary, but for now, it is the perfect place to store all of our things. And of course we were sure to take breaks from our research every now and then to ensure that Daddy's little monster was growing appropriately. However, everything was quickly interrupted when we got a raid. From the Enclave, no less. I doubt that I need to make your acquaintance with them, as they are pretty memorable. But in case you don't know, they are the remnants, what is left of the United States government after the fallout. Now, why would they be after little old me, you might ask, other than the fact that I'm attempting to clone a super mutant army here at the laboratory, which they wouldn't exactly know about? Well, I just so happen to be a fugitive from the Enclave because I used to be a Chinese soldier in the pre-war before becoming a ghoul. I had been imprisoned by the Enclave and they were attempting to force the knowledge out of me about nuclear weapons and what have you before I was saved by the previous vault overseer that I was staying at. It's a long story, so how about right now we just try to focus on not getting our shit pushed in by this trooper. He would somewhat approach the front of our laboratory, but seemingly not knowing we were hiding behind these rocks, we quickly finished the job. And that, my friends, is what I like to call blind f***ing luck. The next time the Enclave attack, we need to be more than ready, because they probably won't be turning their backs on us so easy. Ah, Mr. Trooper, my friend, lucky for you, just as meat before ye, you get to become something much larger. You get to become super mutant feces as our little friend here ends up digesting you as he continues growing. Speaking of which, this little fellow, thanks most likely due to his super mutant genetics, is growing rather quickly. Very rapidly, actually, but you still have plenty of growing to do before you're ready, so as you're doing that, let us continue with our expansion of the laboratory. We're actually going to be building onto our hallway, and at the end of it, we are going to have our nuclear power source. Something of a reactor room, a mini reactor room. Ah, and as if on cue, we finished up the research just in time. There was just one teeny little problem. We don't currently have the resources that we need to build this miniature reactor, like plasteel, gold, and advanced components. But I know just the fully grown fellow who could help us out with getting these resources. Hello, my majestic beauty, my chaotic killing machine. Saying that he was full grown is a bit of a misleading statement, as he's only 13. But my god, look at the muscles on this little fellow. I think he's ready. Worst comes to worst, we'll probably be dealing with some puberty-induced attitude and other hormonal changes. Maybe he'll start growing some armpit hair and a beard. I don't really care, as long as he gets us that plasteel and things that we need. I suppose it's only fitting that you wear the armor of your DNA donor until we find you something much more suitable and super, my little soldier. So much potential behind that leathered green skin. The next step in human evolution. A true indestructible killing machine. Especially once we actually get you some advanced armor, which isn't too far out of our reach, but there's so much more research and work to be done. Oh, I see you've named yourself Boy. Probably because that's what I've been calling you, because I didn't give you a name. I suppose now is as good a time as any. And since you like Boy, how about Super Meat Boy? Because you're a super soldier, your DNA is from the mutant known as Meat, and because you're my boy. Yeah, I think I like that. Super Meat Boy was curious as to what we should name this place, and to be honest with you, I don't actually have a name for what we're going to call ourselves, nor our laboratory. Maybe you fine folks in the audience could help me out with that in the comment section down below. I would be eternally grateful. Using the skin of the Enclave soldier, I quickly threw together a large backpack for Super Meat Boy to wear. The reason being, of course, we need those resources we talked about, and we need somewhere to carry them so that they're not out in the open for scavengers to see. Having a sentient, non-murderous super mutant wandering around the town is already going to draw a few eyes. Alrighty, my son. Head out there and get Papa everything on his list so I can make our big cancer-making generator, okay? You know, on second thought, maybe I should tag along, just in case the locals get spooked and you go on a murderous rampage. That wouldn't be good. Lucky for us, it's a good thing we still have some goodwill with the NCR due to our previous Vault Dweller ties. Otherwise, they would probably try to execute my new creation / son for public safety concern. But they didn't, and we exchanged a few caps for NCR dollars, as well as the materials that we needed. Now we can build our generator, and we even purchased some uranium. That way we can go about fueling it right away. Now, just in case you're playing along at home like I, building my laboratory here, when you build your nuclear reactor, even if it is a mini, don't forget to add in an adequate amount of coolers. That way you don't have a reactor meltdown causing nuclear fallout in the area and most likely a great big explosion killing everyone. Sound good? Okay, great. Now you're ready to fuel this bad boy and get your entire laboratory, base, town, or just whatever you're powering completely powered without any issue. Now that we basically have an endless fuel source, at least for the current size of our laboratory, we are going to start expanding. On the inside here, you'll notice that I am doing a lot of mining out. I'm trying to mine here to the east a little bit as we plan on a future expansion of our laboratory, specifically for our new growth vats and things like that, as well as a storage area. And on the west, as you can see, we've also mined out and built ourselves some bedrooms. Not only for myself, but of course for our Super Meat Boy. For now, the furniture is still made out of scrap metal, but eventually, once we really get this operation off the ground and running perfectly, we are going to turn it into a proper institution. Ironically, something of the technological prowess of the institution. I know. Why am I talking about these mythological places? Besides, everyone knows the institution isn't real, and synths are made by a mommy and daddy synth, and the stork brings them. Right. Moving right along, we're going to start some more research on drug production. Not to worry, I'm not starting a drug empire to sell, but I think our little super soldier could use a bit of a pick-me-up, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of which, while I was looking into drug synthesis and how to make drugs that will help him in combat, he was out training. He was target shooting some toxiguanas in the area, not only so we could eat them, but also, of course, so he could practice his aim a bit. Although, this was also so that he could eat them, of course. Tox meat is absolutely delicious. especially for someone like myself who doesn't have taste buds. I don't really care. And with that, my friends, we figured out how to make some pretty basic drugs to produce. We're also going to be looking into psychite refining, which wouldn't take very long at all. We weren't looking to make any jet or psycho or anything like that at the moment, just some pretty simple, not exactly hard stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like some yayo, but we needed psychoid leaves, which would take a while to grow. Just so happened, though, we happened to have a trader in the area who had plenty to sell. Money well spent. I apologize for harping on this for so long, but here's the meat and potatoes of what I've been yapping about. Hard drugs accompanied with the natural strength and resistance of super abilities of super mutants make Super Meat Boy into quite the formidable fighter, I must say. His impressive muscle mass already makes him very strong and very fast, but accompanied with the fact that the yayo makes him feel much less pain and also makes him faster, yeah. You get it. It'll be perfect for his first mission. But first, let's discuss the laboratory a bit, eh? Alright, so what we're going to do here, we have a lot of mining to do. I want to really get our lab off the ground. I want to get some great armor for Super Meat Boy. I want weapons. I want it all right in the palm of my hand. And to go about doing so, we need a lot of resources like steel. So I'm going to be making some basic circuitry, and we are going to start gestating another utilitron to help us out with our mining efforts, because Super Meat Boy and myself are absolutely dog shit at it. So we're going to be gestating another utilitron. We're going to do a lot of mining and resource collection, and then we are going to start working on a lot of stuff like armor, things like that for Super Meat Boy. We're also going to begin prepping for more growth vats, because this episode is going to be our first, of course, and it's going to be about cloning a super soldier, which is Super Meat Boy. But next episode, we're going to do an entire fucking army, baby. Or at least that's the plan. We've got our utilitron being gestated. It'll be a few days. About 2 days, actually, and then once that's done, we should be able to mine a lot faster, which will help us out quite a bit. We need plenty of steel, we need components, we need everything and anything. Touching on that a bit more, mining out all this steel here is also going to be a great resource that we'll be using for advanced weapons and armor for our clone army of super soldiers too. Finally, our second utilitron would be finished gestating and assembled, and he immediately went to work with us mining out all of this steel. Not only did we plan on using it for the previously discussed things, but we spent most of it on more growth vats in preparation. I'm gonna level with you though, I don't know if we exactly have enough power to power all of these growth vats, and I definitely know that we don't have near enough food, so we still have a lot of work to do before we have any dreams of going about cloning a proper army of these super soldiers. In due time, though, my friends, in due time. For now, though, it's almost time for us to send Super Meat Boy out on his first maiden voyage, his first mission. And so, before we do that, we're going to be making him a little bit of armor as well as a new weapon just in case. Given my unique professional background, I thought a nice Chinese remnant helmet would be fitting for the beginning here to start out, as well as some pulse grenades, as most folks out in the wasteland, or at least a decent bit of them, tend to have their very own robots and mechanoids and or synths. We want to make sure that he's ready for anything. These specialized grenades create a pulse of EMP waves that will shut down or stun any electronics they hit. His first mission? An item stash due east of here. Word has it that there are some fellows who are protecting it for their faction at large. Though we're not exactly sure as to who they are, probably some scavengers or raiders or someone, who cares? We're going to kill them and we're going to take what's ours. Within a couple days' time, we would finally arrive as night began to fall. Looks like they're holed up in some type of ancient junkyard. This was great news for us because it takes a large vehicle for Super Meat Boy and his grand stature to hide behind to sneak up on them, which he would do for a time before being spotted. Inevitably, he is was a bit wet behind the ears, as they say, and he quickly would snort his yayo before combat initiated. Come on, little fella, just like we taught you, taking cover behind some old trucks. As a Protectron began to approach, firing its scatter gun at his head, we managed to stun it with those grenades. With the Protectron's CPU temporarily fried, that would allow us to sneak up on one of the soldiers. If you count rushing towards them with a bowie knife in our hands, sneaking up, of course. Their mechanical menace sprung back to life rather quickly, causing Super Meat Boy to chuck another grenade at its face before he finished off one of the raiders. He quickly rushed to the ground where he could pick up the automatic machine gun of the raider to use against this filthy Protectron, who still proved to be quite resilient. Perhaps we should move on to the next raider first. This fellow, going by the name of Sharp, was a ghoul, who also seemed to be the brains of this operation. He was the only one smart enough to stay back from the giant super mutant wearing metal armor. Even so, that wouldn't be enough to protect him from getting stabbed about 10 times in the abdomen. Finally, with Sharp down, the last of these bastards was that stupid Protectron. After chucking another grenade at it, stunning it, and blasting it with a machine gun, it too was down for the count, and the battle was over. Now you might be correctly thinking to yourself, damn, one super mutant managed to take out 2 well-armed raiders and their Protectron with a scatter gun? That's one mighty impressive clone you've souped up. Well, you are damn right, my friend. But it only gets better. Check this out. Not only did we kill 2 well-armed raiders and their Protectron with the scatter gun after taking many a hit, but most of those hits only bruised us. We're not even bleeding all that much. Damn, these genetics are amazing. In case that wasn't enough for you, he did all that with exceptionally low shooting and melee skills, by the way. Can you imagine once he's properly trained? Once we have more weapons and armor better than the scrap trash we're using right now? Can you imagine once we have an army of these super mutants? Lucky for you, you won't have to imagine for much longer. Now then, let's see what these pitiful fools were willing to lay down their lives for. Oh my, a shit ton of plasteel and a little bit of obsidian, worth quite a few caps, but worth even more in our hands for many of the machines that we plan on building. Sharp, you poor, dumb son of a bitch. Was it worth it? Was it worth it now that you lie here on the ground, stripped of your clothing, bleeding out into the dirt? Yeah, I didn't think so. Such a shame this is going to be the last time we ever see each other. And the last time that you ever see anything. Anywho's though, with all those materials loaded up into the backpack of our great big jolly green giant, we finally started on the path back home. This, of course, would take a few days, so in the meantime, let's check back in with the good doctor, eh? It would seem this old quack is starting up a bit of a farm next to the radioactive lake. Probably for the best. We're gonna need a lot of food, as we previously discussed, to feed all of our little clone babies that we plan on growing in the, well, growth vats, as well as some psychoid leaves if we plan on making more yayo and possibly even harder drugs for combat situations. Speaking of which, the long-awaited return of Super Meat Boy. Oh, my child, please, please, I insist, show me what you've brought back from your adventure. All this plasteel that he brought back with him would be perfect for some more advanced armor right off the rip. And these weapons will be great. We'll start a little collection for the army to come. For now, we're going to begin our research into flak armor, as this will unlock a smorgasbord of different types of armor that Super Meat Boy, as well as all the others to come, blah blah blah, can use. You're probably sick of hearing me yap about this same shit over and over. I apologize. Here's something a bit out of the norm. We're going to be adding a new section onto our laboratory. A proper bathroom coming in with 3 toilets, some showers, and also some sinks to wash our hands at for our experiments, and after we go potty, of course. Perhaps this isn't as interesting as I thought it'd be to talk about, but as always, I know exactly what you're thinking. Doesn't that mean you've been pissing and washing in the same body of water up until now? Yes. But moving on, my friends, we finally finished our research into flak armor, and we are going to be wasting absolutely no time crafting a bit of super armor for the super mutant. A nice plasteel plated combat armor harness. No, son. There's no need for thanks. Thank you. Thank yourself. You have earned it with that little mission that you went out on. You really proved yourself out there, and you also proved that we don't need to kill you and feed you to the next clone that we could grow, huh? A bang-up job. As you can see, this new set of plated armor is much better than the previous scrap metal armor that he was wearing, and will do a much better job of protecting him from all types of damage, but especially kinetic damage. Yep, the super mutant super soldier just got a little bit more super. However, my friends, as this episode comes to an end, I must say that we have made a lot of progress. I'm quite impressed with the laboratory that we've got set up, as well as our Protectron workforce. Speaking of which, if you have any names for the 4 Protectrons we currently have, which consist of 2 Constructrons and 2 Utilitrons, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Very much appreciated in advance, of course. And I suppose next episode we will be cloning an entire army of these super mutants and their super soldiers. And I gotta tell you, I cannot wait. Enclave beware, for the remnants of the once great Chinese Empire are back. I suppose I'll see you later. Well, looky what we have here. A nice fine member of the People's Republic, no doubt. Or at least what's left of it. Good to make your acquaintance, friend. You can just call me Officer. This is my laboratory. Now, look, China fell long ago, and as did the United States. But their remnants are still running around doing whatever they're doing, and our remnants are here, building laboratories and doing a few experiments. Speaking of experiments, it's my son, Super Meat Boy, the ultimate super soldier in the making. You see, I knocked a super mutant to the ground last episode, and before I executed the bastard, I collected some of his DNA. And what you see before you here is my doing. Super Meat Boy here is quite the formidable foe, but could you imagine if we had an army of him? Yeah, I like the sound of that too, and that's why in today's episode we are going to be cloning the ultimate super soldier super mutant army. But we have a lot to take care of first, so we are going to start putting into place many of the things that we need to go about making this army. What you see right now is a bit of farming around our large radioactive lake. You might be wondering as to why I'm worried about that for cloning an army of super mutants. Not only do we need enough food to feed them after they're born and ready for action, but we also need enough food to feed into their nutrition tanks while they're being cloned. We're going to be going with rice because, of course, rice is the fastest growing crop, and that way we can get it as soon as possible ready to feed into the tank. We'll worry about quality later on. Right now, we need quantity. As we're letting our crops grow, that way we can start up a great big stockpile of them to prepare for the cloning season. We're also going to be expanding the laboratory a little bit out to the east, where we mined out a large vein of steel recently, repurposing that steel to go about building some walls and an operating room, as you can see. Ever so quickly, we went ahead and prepared Super Meat Boy in the operating room to collect a little bit of his DNA. We've refined it a bit from his original donor, known as simply Meat, and these clones that we're going to be making are actually going to have much better genetics. You could kind of think of it like dog breeding, making sure that we have the best genetics from each batch, except it's more like inbreeding with only one set of DNA, but it's all done through test tubes? I don't know. Another teeny tiny little issue that we face at the moment is power. All of those growing vats are going to take up a lot of electricity, so we're going to be expanding out our reactor room and adding in yet another small nuclear reactor. This should be plenty to go about powering all of the growing vats with a lot of excess left over for anything else that we add on. With plenty of power and some rice finally in storage, I think that we are finally ready, at the very least, to turn on our vats, get them going, heat them up a little bit, and now Finally ready for the cloning process. Ah, yes, that's right, my little deformed super mutant embryos. Grow big and strong for Papa, because we have a lot of rebuilding to do. We're going to make our pre-war nation, our culture, and our peoples proud today. Perfect, our first batch of crops. It looks like you little fella started growing just in time for breakfast. Who's hungry? Here we go. Look at Super Meat Boy being such a good big brother. Or father, perhaps? I don't really know how that works. I do know that we need a dedicated place for all this food that we're trying to store, so that's exactly what we're going to be working on at the front of the laboratory. We're building some great big metal crates, which can actually hold, some of them at least, can hold up to about 32 stacks of food, which is pretty great, and it also means we're much more organized. I've decided to build this right next to our growing vats room. That way, obviously, it's much easier to take the food in there. However, as our facility continues to grow larger, we need a few helping hands, and I could really use someone who might be a bit, say, handy. Oh, we're crafting a Mr. Handy, as you can see. The perfect companion for all day-to-day tasks, who is just a jack of all trades, a bit of hauling, a bit of cleaning, things like that. Although it's going to take a couple days for it to be assembled, so we'll check back in on him in a moment. In the meantime, while we're waiting, we're not going to be sitting around twiddling our thumbs. No, we are expanding the laboratory once again. I expect this comes as no shock to you, as that's been a lot of what we've been doing this far, but at the moment we're actually building 2 large rooms, which will be the barracks for our army. The following morning, just before breakfast, we actually had a bulk goods trader coming from a nearby NCR settlement. Perhaps you should hide inside, my son. I think they're already going to be quite skeptical of my uniform. I doubt that they're going to trust the Chinese remnants all that much, even though they're quite familiar with me already. I went to do business with them later into the evening and ended up purchasing quite a bit of cloth from them. Now, why would I purchase cloth, you might be asking? Well, I completely forgot to grow some, and we needed that cloth as well as steel, which we already had in storage, of course, from all our mining efforts, to go about building some nice beds as well as end tables for our super soldiers. I don't just want to have any scraps. This isn't a raider settlement or some shabby-ass bar in the Mojave. No, this is going to be quite the institution. Not the institution, but something of a clean laboratory, a nice facility. One filled with items and furniture that would definitely be considered a luxury literally anywhere else in the country, in the world for that matter. And sticking with our promise of cleanliness, we're also going to be using this cloth to go about building ourselves some doormats. This will help us from tracking in dirt and debris constantly from the outside world, which also equates, of course, to less time spent having to clean. We need to run a tip-top ship around here, and a clean one at that. Our mutants will not be savage beasts like the others. However, they are beasts all the same, and beasts tend to be quite filthy. We don't need them tracking in mud and contaminating our experiments. Ah, and would you look at the time? Our Mr. Handy is finally assembled. In today's episode, we're going to be doing the naming of our Constructrons and Utilitrons, so if you guys have a name for our Mr. Handy here, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, as well as names for anything that you'd like to name, of course. But with that, I think it's time that our friend here gives us a hand. He's already proving himself to be quite useful by taking over cleaning duty, freeing us up to do other things like harvesting our crops to feed our growing army, things like that, of course. Speaking of which, I sat for several days watching our little super soldier embryos grow bigger and stronger until eventually... Oh, look how precious all my little swaddled murderers are. Oh, hey there, little fellow. Goochie goochie goo. Look at you. How precious. A perfect batch of clones. All happy, healthy little babies ready to grow into the perfect super soldiers. Well, all except for this one. Unfortunately, it didn't make it for some reason. Even so, though, the rest of our babies are happy, healthy, and most importantly, alive. So we need to stuff them back into their growing vats. That way they can grow into adult super soldiers. They're not much use to us until they can walk and hold a rifle. You little bastards, stay in the oven and don't stop baking until you're ready to commit homicide. But that begs the question, what do we do with this poor, unfortunate little fellow? I have an idea. Who's hungry? I brought, barbecue. Ah, come on, don't tell me you're getting soft on me. Poor little guy was already gone. Best he can do for us now is fuel the greatness of his brothers. Besides, we spent a lot of food growing that little turd. Gotta get our money back and all that. Uh-oh. Do I hear the pitter-patter of large green feet belonging to filthy native super mutants who have come to attack us? I believe so. Well, this should be interesting. 3 untrained, undisciplined super mutants from the wild versus our genetically enhanced and superior killing machine. I'll say a little prayer for them. They're gonna need it. Alright, we're all actually going to be moving up, along with all of our Constructrons and Utilitrons. Now, I know, I talk big talk of Super Meat Boy going in alone, but I don't really feel like tending to him after, so if things start getting a little bit too rough, I'm going to bring myself as well as all of our robots in to assist him with this fight. But for now, I might just let him kind of handle it on his own, I suppose. We're going to move everybody up there and prepare. Alright, so we're starting to get our robots in order. I'm actually going to swap over to the machine gun. I don't think the range is quite that good, but okay, let's pull back a bit here. Picking them off one by one, which is nice. I'm gonna move myself. Let's come down this way, okay. There we go. There, perfect. Now they're beginning their assault though, so we need to prepare for them to come this way. I want to get all of our Protectrons up this way so that they can fire with their lasers, which for some reason they're not, they have a very short range is why. Let's go ahead and kill him. Yeah, they have a very short range. I'm gonna move myself back, of course. Oh no! We lost a Utilitron. Come on. Oh my word. See if we can distract this one by stabbing him in his stomach or something. There we go, alright. Move along. I'm gonna try to protect our robots as much as I can. Use the hunting rifle. I'm actually going to send Super Meat Boy after this guy. I really want to kill him. They don't really have anything of interest, but their weapons will be useful for our army until we actually manage to make our own. Continue, continue, go, go, go. He's gonna get away. Maybe, he might not, actually. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Ah, wonderful. Now, who is the superior being, bitch? Go ahead and pick up this pipe rifle. We're gonna take all these weapons back. Now, Super Meat Boy, let's take a look. Nothing but bruises and a few cracks. Absolutely stellar, I must say, absolutely stellar. We do have our Utilitron injured. That's okay, or not injured, but dead. I wish it were injured. The others are injured. The Utilitron is dead, which is actually okay. We should be able to resurrect the Utilitron pretty easily, I think. Yes, so we can resurrect our Utilitron. So if you've submitted names for them, and we're getting ready to name them here in a little while, don't worry. He'll be back in business in just a moment. But we do want to get the weapons hold as badly as I don't want to be the same as other super mutants, of course, using scrap weapons and what have you. We don't currently have the materials to go about making our own, and so we're going to have to make do with what we have, of course. Ah, there we go, okay. So we do have our, let's just make sure. Okay, yeah, we got the Utilitron. Utilitron 2 is back in the vat, and it's going to be about 2 days and he'll be back in business. We have to reassemble him. We have to fix his fried hardware. The Mr. Handy, the Utilitrons, they're all very useful. Their lasers are incredibly short range, though. That's the only issue. We have to get very close to handle that. Do we not have any herbal medicine? Oh my god, it doesn't matter, he has bruises anyways, but we need to start growing some medicine then, I suppose. Think we, you know what, we might not actually have a high enough skill. Yes, we don't have an 8 in plants, no wonder we didn't do it. So after we gestate our Utilitron back to life, we resurrect it, I'm actually going to work on a Mr. Farm Handy. Okay, so that should be able to do, that one should be able to go about planting the heal root for us. the herbal meds. Ah, such ambitions and big plans. For now, though, we must sit and wait. Oh, never mind. It would appear that our Protectron has been resurrected and is back in action. Welcome back, friendo.
Powering up.
You have a lot of work to do?
On duty.
Perfect, and as do we. Immediately we are going to begin assembling our very next robot, our Mr. Handy Farmhand. This too was perfect, and I just kind of skipped the gestation period. Nothing really happened, and now, as you can see, he's working hard out in the field. Or she. I don't know, I guess I'll wait for you fine folks to give these fellas some names as well. Or fellaheads, excuse me. Something I've neglected to mention is that our Mr. Handys actually require an upgraded version of the recharger. So, we are going to be shifting the ones that we currently have into this empty section of the hallway and adding in a military-grade recharger for our mechs. That way we can make sure that they're all getting the battery power that they need. I also threw in a chest table, that way in case we get bored. You might also be asking yourself, if we're trying to keep our facility clean, what are we doing with all the toxic waste that we're getting from gestating mechs and recharging mechs? Well, we're just kind of dumping it outside. There is a wasteland out here, who cares? We also have a great big pile of stone here at this side of the facility. I started moving it over because we plan on constructing where it's currently sitting, but I also started cutting it up, and the reason for that is I like to use this marble to supplement the steel that we've been using when we expand the lab. Once we got the stone pile moved though, we dug out a significant portion of this section and encompassed it with some walls. Now this can finally be our proper dining room and kitchen. One that is large enough for all of our soldiers to eat at once they're finally born. I know what you're thinking. Wait, up until this point, have you just been cooking and eating outside at the fire? Yes, I know, I'm a little bit behind in times, but we're making up for it now. Not only is this a much cleaner environment to cook in, people enjoy eating inside here more than outside at the campfire, but also we should be able to cook meals much more effectively and efficiently. Speaking of our army, by the way, take a look at this. These fellas are almost fully grown and ready to come out of their vat. They're so large, in fact, that they're literally bursting at the seams. Oh, mama. It's still gonna be a hot minute, though, so in the meantime, let's continue improving our facility. First and foremost, I think I want to work on mine and Super Meat Boy's bedrooms. Hardly fair that the army have a decent-looking barracks and we're still sleeping on scrap metal beds. So we've changed that and completely improved it. Ah, now that's more like it, I'd say. Go ahead, buddy, enjoy your soft, comfy bed. You've earned it. And you know what? What the hell? While we're at it, why don't we just go ahead and add in a nice little road going all around the facility and the perimeter that's made out of concrete, as well as adding in a nice back entrance just in case we need to make a quick escape or for convenience sake of bringing things in and that sort of stuff. As we were doing this, we had a California grizzly self-tame. Yes, a beast of legend around these parts. Somewhat common nowadays since they've been breeding like crazy out in the wasteland, but still pretty amazing to have such a rare creature joining us on its own. We must have left some meat scraps out or something. Which also brings up the point that I suppose we won't be hunting in this area anymore. There's a pretty scarce amount of wildlife, and I think this big fella's going to be eating them and hunting them on his own. That's okay though, we don't mind as long as he is loyal to us. He could even be the perfect mount for some of our super soldiers. I don't know if his back could handle one though, but we'll see how that goes. Also, if you have a name for this fine fellow, be sure to leave it in the comment section down below. And as if things couldn't get better, the moment we've all been waiting for. Our army of super soldiers. Alright, maybe it's not that much of an army, but maybe if you take into consideration the fact that each of these fellows is about the size of 3 humans, yeah. Ah, as the toxic rain fell upon their little green heads, I couldn't help but to sit and marvel at my creation, the fruit of my labor. Super Meat Boy, my boy, I now promote you to captain of this army, or general, or whatever rank that you like. I know that you're quite simple-minded, so just you're the leader now, buddy. and we are going to do great things. But first we need to throw some armor on those bare green asses, eh? Oh, I know just the equipment to provide them with, to at least start out with, of course. We're going to be tailoring up some uniforms for them and throwing together some simple metal helmets, and voila. Ah, they're absolutely stunning. Such dapper uniforms, gentlemen. It reminds me of some fellows I used to serve with back in the day. Of course, they weren't quite as large or mutated. But nevertheless, you look great. I will say, though, that those uniforms aren't going to protect them all that much, but I don't currently have the resources to go about making them all perfect armor, as I have to expend a lot of those resources on their weapons, which is going to take a while. In the meantime, let us provide some proper names to our Protectron workforce. I asked you guys last episode to provide some of these names, and for our two Constructrons we have Humpty and Dumpty. Wonderful names provided by our friend Invasion Animation, who actually just suggested the name Humpty Dumpty for one because they kind of look like large deathclaw eggs, which I can see the resemblance. But I like the name so much I thought it might be fitting to share for two of them. As for our two Utilitrons, we have Terry and Jerry, with these names coming from our good friend Void Seeker 2136. No explanation given exactly, but no explanation needed. I can feel it in my soul, the perfect names for them. As for our base name, we're going to be calling it the Super Industrial Meat Factory. That's a mouthful if I ever seen one. And as for ourselves as a whole, we're going to be calling ourselves the Wasteland Genetic Research Company, with this name coming from our friend the People Playground Files 3404. I want to say I'm a big fan of the faction name because I like to think that even though we're Chinese remnants and we're kinda sorta building back up the Chinese Empire, sort of, maybe a foothold here, we're also going to be fitting in with the culture and the community as much as possible. So calling ourselves this instead of something like the People's Republic Genetic something is much better, I feel. Now, as for the base name, I'm actually using a combination of the suggestions from our friends Yayani_K and Andrew House 3096. Apologies if I butchered your name, but I love the name Super Clone Industries and Super Meat Factory, so why not put them together? Thank you all for your suggestions, by the way. And of course, remember folks, if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see in the series, mods you'd like to see, names you'd like to provide for anything, be sure to leave them in the comments section. I love you. Now that we've gotten our names taken care of, I think it's about damn time I show off our fighting force. Uniformed with rifles in hand and ready for action at a moment's notice. These incredible super soldiers are truly the next level in human evolution, and perhaps should be considered the greatest creation in all of the wasteland. And they're also all my babies, of course, no matter how grotesque they may look in the face. And as for naming our soldiers in the army, I've decided to name them after some fine friends that I have made along the way, even many of them, actually most of them, also being financial benefactors. One could maybe call them patrons, I suppose. Wonderful names, nonetheless. Uh-oh, what do we have here? A siege from the Enclave? I was literally just about to say that I would love a good test for our new army. Perfect timing, I suppose. Although it must be said that the Enclave are not playing around. This is not going to be all that easy. They've never really been pushovers, but this is going to be our first time here experiencing some proper laser weaponry, as well as someone in power armor. Perhaps we've met our match. Only one way to find out. First things first, I am going to grab some yayo. We only have about 10 in storage right now. We haven't made any more, even though we desperately need to. We need to be quick about this. I want to bring it out. He's not picking it up for some reason. Whatever. Let's just start snorting some... well... Trying to watch what I say here. But you know that we're going to do yayo, and the reason that we're doing yayo, of course, because it is going to give us our increased movement speed and pain tolerance. And I'm saying all this very quickly and very nervously because I have a feeling that mortar shells are going to start dropping down on our heads in any moment here. We've almost got everyone, though. We've got about half of them doing the yayo. I'm gonna check on the progress of this siege in just a minute. There's no way that we take... oh, shit. I don't even have to. That was very close. That was very close. I want Super Meat Boy to get the last one because he is our strongest, or at least has our best armor. So everyone but Jono is going to have the Yayo effects, which is alright. Okay, I think we are ready to set out. I'm actually going to hide in the bathroom just in case. And we are going to start moving up here to take on the Enclave. Okay, they are getting another one up. Oh, they're hitting our old base. Oh, you dumb bastards. You idiots. Yes, I insist. Please continue hitting that base. We don't mind. Dumbasses. And we have our army moving up this way. I want to try to prep a little bit before we actually take them on here. We do have to be quite careful, okay? I know we have super soldiers who are super badass, but I don't want them all dying right away, especially not to some laser minigun. I'm actually going to start bringing the army out a little to the eastern side here, and the reason for that, I want to watch this mortar and make sure we don't get hit directly. Oh, okay. We got clipped a little bit. Okay, I need to focus up here, though. I'm going to be bringing the army around to this side so that we can kind of take cover behind these ruins a bit. They still haven't really noticed us, which is great, exactly what we need. It's not exactly ideal, but I'm going to try to double up, yeah. Okay, I was going to say, I'm trying to double up here on how they're taking cover, which is only kind of sort of working. We've already lost a wall here that we were hiding behind. I want Super Meat Boy out here with us. They're not even... I assume they're just a bit too afraid to leave their post. Ah, here we go. Now they've really noticed us. Okay. Alright, move, move, move. Move back. Immediately move back. That is really, really bad. Those lasers. Oh, bodacious buns. My friend, you have been blasted bad. Holy. Alright, everybody move down this way. Take cover. Take cover. The rest of you come to try to defend him. Let's see if we can get enough shots in to kill these bastards. There we go. Finally, a little traction. As they're coming around the bend, yes, start lighting them up. If we stand in a group like this, here we go. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, okay. Move back around the side. We gotta be careful. Ah, you know what? There's enough of us, I think. Okay, take a second. We gotta look at this. We need to get all of our mechs getting in here with us, or at least, yeah, up here. We don't have to worry about the mortar anymore, so let's get all of our mechs in the doorway at the very least. We could defend the base if, for whatever reason, I don't think it's going to happen, but our army fails. We're gonna try... many of us, as you can see, are very, very injured. So concerning. But there are many of us who haven't even taken any hits yet, so I want to try to move up on this power armor user. Oh my god. If we can engage in melee combat, though, we might just have a chance. There we go. There we go. Oh, man. With their greatest warrior dead, that means this is the perfect time for us to start killing the rest of them. And Super Meat Boy now has the Gatling laser. Oh, hello, little friend. Hey there, little pal. Let's go ahead and give you a good thumping. Oh, and the Enclave are fleeing. Oh, to think that we are going to let you flee. You're such a funny little critter, eh? You're funny little people, huh? I don't think so there, officer. Sorry. Ooh, that's a shame. And with that, my friends, the Enclave siege of the base has ended not with a big boom or anything like that, but with a pitiful whimpering fizzle. And it also looks like we have some artillery now. I'm gonna go ahead and let everyone go. We have, as you can see, oh my, a lot of injuries. Many of those, unfortunately. Let's check Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy is fine. However, some of our other folks, like Cat Dictator, have actually suffered bleeding wounds and quite a few different burns. At least we survived the attack. We're going to get everybody tended to. We're also going to go ahead and claim all of this wonderful stuff up here. We'll actually go ahead and get it hauled. And I'm going to reinstall this artillery turret down here, as I think it'll be quite handy for us. Not sure where to put it, maybe out front, I guess. I'm gonna try to do some fencing, I think, with our lake soon. Defeated the Enclave. We also have a lot of their weapons that we can use. Let's see. These laser weapons are going to be amazing. We use scrap weapons to defeat them. We get laser weapons in return. It's a pretty damn good deal, I'd say. We didn't get all that many laser weapons, kinetic rifles and stuff, but we got a few pistols and things like that. I must say, for our little warriors not to have had any proper armor for the most part, they performed fairly well. That and the fact that they were using scrap rifles that we made here in-house, I'm mighty impressed. Speaking of which, though, the Enclave did wear some pretty useful armor that we might be able to repurpose, I think. Especially their combat armor and that power armor that this fellow was wearing. Now you might be saying to yourself, though, isn't that armor tainted? Yes, it is, and that's a problem that we need to deal with sooner rather than later. And so I introduce to you the research into washing machines. I think it goes without saying, but I'll explain just in case, that washing machines wash clothing. And because they do that, that means they'll be able to wash all the corpse bile and whatever else that's in that armor away, and we won't mind wearing it. However, this research does take quite some time, so we're going to be working on that, and in the meantime, we're also going to be expanding on to the laboratory once more. Next to our recharging area in the hallway, we're actually going to be adding in something of a recreational room at the end of the hall. However, this was interrupted. We had a great big herd of Scaria-infected man-hunting brahmen coming right for the lab. Well, lucky enough for us, we just so happened to have our very own herd of super mutants who could easily blast and pound these filthy cows back into the dirt, which they would do with a giant barrage of scrap rifle bullets as well as a few lasers. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's such a shame most of them are rotten, and the hardest part of this entire ordeal being that we had to carry off those rotten corpses to a pile out in the wasteland. Perhaps a nice deathclaw will come along and take care of the problem for us. Or they'll just rot away. Meanwhile, back at the laboratory, we did finish up our recreation room, but this is no ordinary recreation room. This is one that is chocked to the brim with punching bags. I need our little mutated murderers in tip-top shape at all times, and this way they can practice their hand-to-hand combat a bit, as well as increasing the size of their punching muscles, I guess. And we would also end up putting a nice high security fence around the perimeter of the front of the laboratory, encompassing this little nuclear waste lake here with all of our crops, and this way we can also try to funnel in enemies if they were to catch us off guard, making it a bit easier to have a firing squad ready for them. I doubt I need to explain this, but since the fence is only around the front, that means that the back side of the laboratory is completely unprotected, at least by a fence. Not too concerned with that at the moment. Our current security force is our army. We don't have any automated turrets or anything, but we'll get around to souping this place up in no time. As for right now, we have much larger fish to fry as we have finally finished up the research into washing machines, and we would waste no time going about building a couple. That way we can immediately begin cleaning all of the armor that we got from the Enclave assault against us. And once these articles of clothing were finally clean, we started issuing them to our members. First and foremost, obviously, Super Meat Boy being our Commander General, the leader basically. I don't have a working title just yet, but also our firstborn is going to be wearing the power armor. We had to make a few adjustments to fit it around his great green muscles, but it seems to work. We would also allow the others to play rock, paper, scissors, or maybe they fist fought, I don't really remember, but there was a lot of commotion in the storage room over the rest of the armor, mostly just being a few combat harnesses and things like that. Still, though, about half of our soldiers are missing some basic articles of clothing and armor like this, but we will be working on that next episode. For today, my friends, I think we have really shaped the laboratory up, and also, of course, we have created our super mutant, super soldier army. There's still a lot of work to put in for them, a lot of training for them to do, weapons, armor, so on and so forth. But we are off to an amazing start. I suppose I'll see you next time. Well, welcome all you wonderful wayward wasteland adventurers. Welcome to the genetic testing research facility here in the wasteland. You can call me Officer, and this here is my boy, known as Super Meat Boy. He's Papa's little genetic super mutant clone, the first of his kind. He's currently wearing some wonderful armor from our quote-unquote friends of the Enclave, who recently we slaughtered in an attack. And it is partially thanks to their less than humble sacrifice that today we will turn our Super Meat Boy into the big bad boss himself. Only the opposite way, of course, since he isn't part of the Enclave, but will be our ultimate weapon against them. But how do we plan on doing this, you might ask? Why, of course, by synthesizing hard drugs to increase our combat effectiveness, strength, perception, endurance, so on and so forth. But also by researching advanced forms of genetic extraction and implantation. This will allow us to take what we like and add onto our super soldier, as well as getting rid of what we don't like, creating truly the perfect killing machine. Nothing less of the legendary Agent Horrigan himself. But alas, research takes time, and being the creator of our clones here, I am the only one intelligent enough to do it. So I suppose I'm on my own. In the meantime, though, there has been word from a nearby settler research facility that they are in the market for and have the location of a possible xenotype injector. They've even put out a reward for anyone who can retrieve it. This toolkit is capable of forcefully removing all of the genes from its patient and/or target. Could be exactly what we need. Sure, we'll bring the device to the scientists who need it, of course. No. Obviously, our super mutants are up for the task, and so our mutants and myself will be the ones to own this device. The settlers don't need to know that, though, because if they did, they definitely wouldn't have told us the location of this device. Poor dumb suckers. Alright, Meat Boy, gather up your clone forces and head out and get Papa that device. It's very important, okay? And so they would, ready to take on anything in their path or anything that awaits them at this facility. Although this travel is going to take quite some time, so yet again we find ourselves in a bit of a waiting pickle, it would seem. Although in the meantime, back at our research facility, we did finish the research into genetics. Up next is going to be gene processing. This will basically allow us to create genetics with a higher genetic complexity. It's a whole sciencey bullshit, I won't bore you with it, but just know that we need it for our little project. And since we're doing all this research, I thought, why don't we go ahead and create ourselves a proper wing of the facility where we can go about our genetic research instead of only cloning. Although, even so, that being said, I would add in additional growth vats in here just because, well, I'd like to expand our army at some point once we really perfect our genetic makeup for our clones. Also, I'm sure you noticed, but in building our laboratory, we accidentally trapped this wild gentleman inside. He's been around for quite some time, eating scraps of our crops, but we've never killed him or shooed him away because we're not monsters, unlike the Enclave. He isn't feral, so perhaps we can tame him and reel him back into societal norms and into reality. A long shot probably, but still a shot worth taking. Now that we've finished up the new wing of the laboratory, though, we're also going to finally start working on some defenses. Now, I haven't really cared about this up until this point because the facility is always protected by our clones. But in a case like right now, say for example, when they're all out on an adventure and on a mission, we would be screwed. Other than our Protectrons and Mr. Handies, of course. So I think some scrap turrets and some proper cover, at the very least, is a must-have. And by the time we finish this up, that long shot of recruiting that wild ghoul man actually wasn't that long of a shot after all. Because literally, as we were doing this, first try, we managed to get him to join us. All it took was a little bit of rice, and I suppose we've won his loyalty. Welcome aboard, comrade. Sure, perhaps he wasn't born in or to our ancestral land, but adopted into its glory all the same. A fine soldier of the Chinese remnants. Speaking of new members to the facility, what about our good friend Cuddles here? That's the new name that we're going to be giving to our California grizzly. Last episode, I asked you fine folks for some names, and it seems that you fine folks really like the name Cuddles suggested from our friends Green Irion and Katana 3195. Obviously, the name doesn't need an explanation, as you guys stated, but the irony isn't lost on me that he looks quite soft and fuzzy, or should I say she, as it is a lady bear, but yet she is a massive two-headed beast-killing machine. Very fun. With enough time and training, she might just make for the perfect war mount. For myself or Damon. I think our super soldiers are a bit too gigantic to ride her around, but I suppose we could see. And while we're naming things, how about our Mr. Farm Handy and Mr. Handy, with those names being Comrade Handovich and Old MacDonald. Or McDonald, I should say, with that name being for our Mr. Farm Handy, obviously, and Comrade Handovich being for our general purpose Mr. Handy. I love these names, I must say. These names come from our friends NZNearTV9305 and KJack Hammer. So thank you guys, and thank you to everyone who have suggested names, of course. You guys are always killing it with the suggestions. Absolutely fabulous names. But with our naming completed for the episode, let us take a look at that facility with the xenotype injector, as our clones have finally arrived. Good lord, that's a lot larger and more intact than I previously anticipated. I was expecting some dilapidated structure falling and caving in on itself. Other than all the wreckage and craters around it, you wouldn't guess that this place was even touched during the aftermath of the war. Worst of all, it would appear that its defense force is also intact. Completely automated. And we are not the first to attempt to enter the facility, it would seem, either. Before we rush in and attack, we wanted to try to plan it out a little bit. We're not these brutish super mutants of the wasteland. We are highly efficient, effective, and much more superior clones. It looks like the majority of the forces here are Protectrons and Mr. Handys, as well as Mr. Gutsies. However, they also seem to have a few sentry bots, and perhaps worst of all, Assaultrons. We've never encountered an Assaultron before, but their reputation for carnage and death and chaos precedes them. Yeah, sure, whatever. I can't wait to stick my fist through that pretty little light in its face. Alright fellas, gather around. We need to make sure that we're ready for this fight, you know what I'm saying? We have snorted our yayo, and we are ready with this high on it and our wonderful super soldier genetics. I honestly don't think we'll have too hard of a time taking down these automated defenses. Looks like we have 13 Protectrons, 7 Gunner Mr. Gutsies. We have 3 Chopper versions. So far, I'm only seeing 1 Assaultron, as well as 1 Sentry Bot. We also have a Robo-Brain, which has a shield protecting many of the other robots, which could be a problem, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna go ahead and come out of hiding here, or come around the corner, I should say. We're mostly hitting that shield. Here they come. So they're actually coming after us now. I think if we can manage to keep them coming kind of one at a time, or at least in small groups, we might just have a pretty decent chance at defeating them fairly quickly as well. So here we go. They are... oh, the Assaultron. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Move, 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 move. Oh my god. Holy. That was about to be really bad. Oh no, we've been hit. Okay, okay, move, move, move. Alright. A whole lot of robot noise. I'm thinking focus all of our fire on the Assaultron, because this cannon that it's using would absolutely... oh, wow. And it still came pretty close to hitting us, like it shifted down towards our area. If it hits us, though, it has a chance of defeating all of our forces at once. Oh, there we go. Thank God. These robots are so loud, aren't they? Let's move back a bit. We have to be careful with this sentry bot. It has a giant scatter gun, which wouldn't be good. Something we should be using as well is Super Meat Boy actually has his grenades that will stun them. There we go. Amazing. Let's throw them about right there. We'll try to stun as many at a time as we can. Swap back over to the laser minigun, though. Oh, wow. Fending off wave after wave of them. We've managed to put down a decent bit of them, and I think for the most part we're okay. I'm trying not to get our soldiers too injured because we really only brought... want to back out a bit. We really only brought some herbal medicine with us, so... we still have quite a few of them that are alive, though. Again, though, the vast majority of their forces are still the Protectrons, so the Protectron scatter guns... they have a decent bit of range, but nothing like our rifles, of course. Alright, let's see if we can come in and finish off that sentry bot. Those and the Mr. Gutsies are the most concerning. Come on. Oh no, I didn't even notice. They're getting right on us here. I wonder if it would be worth just beating the absolute shit out of these little bastards. Probably not, but... yeah, okay, I feel like it's a much better option to not try to beat the robots with saw blades for hands. Probably not our best tactical decision. Especially not when we have such nice ranged weapons. Oh, if we could kill that brain bot... we can also kill the shields once and for all that have been protecting them. Ah, such brave automatons. Alright, back up again. We're playing a bit of cat and mouse here. Times like these, I wish that we had more laser weaponry. Oh my god. Stupid brain robot. There we go. Oh my. Absolute barrage. We finish them off here. I think they might actually be leaving the area. It looks like it. We have that sentry bot that we still haven't finished off. Alright, so we are in the... what is that noise? Sounds like something is... I can't tell if that's a robot being injured. I guess it's the sentry bot. I thought we were getting targeted again. Alright, so we have finally... sheesh, alright, alright, alright. It's so loud. Alright, so we finally finished off the final remaining robots here. Oh shit, here? Oh my god, and now we're being raided by Nightkin. Perhaps they and the robots will fight. They too must be looking for the injector that we've come here for. Oh, they're coming through this cave system. Let's come down here and we'll kill off the Nightkin, which is technically our kin, sort of, except we're the superior beings, of course. Here we go. And there they went, as fast as they were here. Let's go ahead and finish them off. I actually want to go throughout the facility. I'm going to find the injector as soon as I can. And then we are going to leave the area. We do have, I notice here, an ancient soldier with T-51 power armor. Pre-war, it most likely still works, although we could do some repairs to it. We can also wash it, of course, because it's been worn by a corpse. We also have Raider power armor up here, which we could do the same with. So that's good. What do we have in here? Mixed pack genetic fireproof. Oh my. Most of this I don't think is going to be of any use to us. Actually, I want to self-tend to everyone real quick. I'll set that up. We'll go ahead and use the herbal medicine that we brought with us to tend to ourselves. Although we're not exactly the best doctors, of course. I will have Super Meat Boy go around to these facilities and see if we can find that injector. We have more genes. Acid spray. Now that's interesting. We'll be taking all of these genetics back with us. Even if we can't use them, we can most likely sell them. Ah, there we go. A xenotype injector. The same. Let's go ahead. I'm going to pick that up. We have gotten our prize, but we're going to continue searching for a moment here. Looks like we have Gene Pack Orange, nothing too interesting. Gene Pack Noir. Xenotype Nullifier, so much useful equipment here. I'm only picking up these items, by the way, so I don't forget them completely, because they're the main items while we're here. But I will be sure to grab everything before we leave, including, actually, I'm going to have some of our members who are done tending to themselves and start stripping these folks of their power armor so we can take it back home. Something else I'd like to touch on briefly is we do have the ability to resurrect mechs. I wonder, a Century Bot and an Assaultron, although I highly doubt we have the technology nor the know-how to resurrect such complicated robots, it's still worth a shot, and taking them back and researching it would also obviously remedy that. Animal Warcoal, Tusks, Genes, nothing too interesting there. Germline Mutator, random genetic mutations on the subject's germline. Now that too is very interesting. We have a second xenotype injector. We really hit the jackpot here for our goals. Not only in this episode, but this series, I must say. We will continue briefly here. I want to continue seeing how I can find anything. Great shooting gene pack. Holy. Now that is useful. Great shooting would be perfect for our big bad boss that we plan on creating with Super Meat Boy. So we've cleared it out. Looks good. I think everyone is tended to, and most importantly, we have came and we've gotten exactly what we needed. More so, actually, much more than we really needed or what we expected. This is a huge score. We paid a good price for it by fighting all these mechs, the Protectrons and everyone, of course, and damn near lost our lives to the Assaultron about 2 or 3 times. But I think it was well worth it. And with that, I suppose we'll go ahead. Oh, we finished up research into Gene Processor. I was going to say that we'll go ahead and head back home, but we will. We'll do that anyhow, but we have finished that research as well, which is spectacular. Though I think travel is going to suck very much, as some of us, well, actually only one of us so far, Quantum Foam, has an infection in his torso. Thankfully, his immunity, due to his super soldier, super mutant abilities, of course, blood filtering, things like that, do mean that he is gaining immunity exceedingly quickly, as you can see here. So I think he'll be completely fine. But with that, I think it is time for us to truly head back now. I am done yapping about infections and other things that might be slowing down our already tedious and long journey. But as our great big green homicidal heroes are making that long journey all the way back home, we are going to be once again adding in some of the new technology to our laboratory corresponding with the research we just finished. We built ourselves a gene processor, as well as some cabinets and lockers to store things, and a nice desk for us to do our work, of course, in here. I think in the very near future we'll also be building a few more gene banks in case we want to store some extra. Next up, we're going to be working on Go Juice production as our research project. This little drug, I think, is going to really change things for us in the heat of combat. You might be asking yourself as to why I'm not doing Fallout-based drugs. Unfortunately, there are no mods for those, although it looks like the creator of the Fallout collaboration project will have some in the future. Until then, though, we'll have to stick with this. Since we're working on harder drugs to help us during combat, and also fighting in general, to make our ultimate super soldiers, I thought, why not have a small, dedicated wing of the laboratory that is dedicated to drug production? And so that's exactly what we built. Prepped, organized, and ready for production. I was also sure to add in some storage for psychoid leaves, as well as a shelf, that way we can store yayo and other drugs. And then finally, our caravan of super soldiers has returned home. And as we well know, they did not come back empty-handed. No, they had brought all the genes with them, all of the injectors, all the unique technology that we needed to utilize, as well as some dead automatons and other things that we saw earlier too. After we let them rest a bit from their long, tedious journey, we had them go ahead and start hauling all of that crap that they'd brought and threw outside, back inside, where it properly belongs, of course. With that, our laboratory is ready, specifically the part for gene splicing, and we only require a few more genes before we're ready to turn our super soldier into the ultimate killer. We also have the Assaultron and Sentry bot that we had brought back with us. They were in desperate need of resurrection, reassembly, and reprogramming. But unfortunately, as I touched on earlier, we don't have the capability of doing that. For right now. We'll go ahead and bring them inside so that they're not rusting any worse than they already have. I will say, this episode, we're very focused on creating a Frank Horrigan substitute, essentially, with our super meat boy, so I think we'll reserve the resurrecting and reassembling of these two deadly bots for next episode. Now then, looks like we finished the research into Go Juice production. Didn't take very long at all. Next up, we're going to start working on shields, another thing that I think our army could really use. A little technological trick that we picked up when we were fighting the brain bot. Now, as we're doing that research though, we did run into a little bit of an issue. We don't currently have the materials to go about making our own neutramine, to synthesize it essentially, which is a crucial resource that we need to go about making Go Juice. Damn these drugs and their complexity. However, we do still have the option to go about purchasing some, or even the resources to make some, so all is not lost. For the time being, we're going to go ahead and stock up on some yayo, as we obviously use it for combat, but it's also another crucial part of making Go Juice. That being said, it's time that we send out a little tiny caravan of about 4 or 5 of our soldiers, led by the legendary Super Meat Boy, of course, to go about purchasing either some neutramine or the components for which we can make it. The travel is going to take a while, as we know, so we'll check back in a moment. I suppose this is a good time to tell you that we already cleaned up that power armor that we got from those corpses at the facility. We let our strong lads here sort it out amongst themselves who ended up getting it, with a little bit of roughhousing, maybe fist fighting, but bodacious Buns and Cricks ended up with it. I thought this might be a good time for us to continue our expansion of defenses out in the front of our laboratory. I just threw in a couple of scrap turrets again, some sandbags, and some ample cover for us. I really need to invest in some better turrets. At the moment, these will have to do, but in the very near future, we should be able to complete the research to get ourselves some laser turrets or minigun turrets, just something a lot more defensive and much more deadly as well. Worth noting, though, we'll also have to do some pretty extensive research into better nuclear fusion reactors, because these types of turrets take a lot more power. All in the future, though. By this point, our caravan had arrived, and it looks like we'll be able to just go ahead and buy the synthesized neutramine right from the get, instead of buying the things to make it ourselves. Makes it much easier, though it is a little bit more expensive. And some of their scientists actually were willing to part with some interesting gene packs. Most of these were completely useless, except for this one, super healing. Now that is a rare find, and a rather expensive one, but one that we would be willing to pay the price for, of course, and immediately we started heading back home. Speaking of which, looks like we're under attack. The damn dirty Enclave has arrived, dropping off many of their troops. Vertibirds soaring back through the sky to their operating bases. The cowards. Initial observations show that there are many troopers, many of which having laser weaponry, along with some Enclave scientists. If I had to guess, they're looking to clear us out and to take over our laboratory. Yes, yes, bare your fangs, Enclave. Show us your lasers, your plasma. Bring everything you've got. You're gonna need it. Alright, so maybe I'm talking some pretty big talk here, and maybe I shouldn't be because we are missing quite a few of our super soldiers. I was actually so desperate, in fact, and tried to scramble to see if one of them could ride our California Grizzly Cuddles into battle, but they're too heavy. Thankfully, though, we do have our artillery from last episode when we were attacked by the Enclave, so perhaps if we could get a few lucky shots off. I don't know if we're actually going to get our artillery done in time. It looks like it might be ready in time, but we have our soldiers. I'm going to try to bring them out to the front line to start engaging with the Enclave. Very briefly, though, do I want to do this. And the reason that I say very briefly is because they still outnumber us by quite a bit. Alright. They also have plasma weapons. So, plasma, photon, energy weapons, basically. In general, lasers, all that are extremely, extremely dangerous. We also have this great big hole in the base, of course, which is... yeah, I probably should have extended our fencing around that way. Alright, so I'm gonna start bringing... I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to start bringing our mechanoids out to kill the scientist and the officer. Here we go. Let's finish them off. I'm going to try to come up from the side, and I'm going to start flanking them from the western flank. Yes, come on, come on. I want our mechs to take these. Yes. Oh, no. Old McDonald. That's okay. We should be able to resurrect him. We need to get everyone inside, though. Damon is actually... Oh, shit. I didn't realize they'd already come so close. Damon is quite injured. How injured? Very, very badly burned. Okay, let's get our Protectrons and Mr. Handy's down here to help us out. As our troops are continuing to flank them here. Okay, which of you... It's you. You have the plasma pistol. We need to get in here and stop this bastard. Or at least distract him, because I don't want that guy to, the plasma pistol guy to get a good shots in on us. He'll end up finishing us off for good here. So we have these bastards who are starting to hide. I'm sorry, I just want to bring my Protectrons down, give them some cover, so that they can actually shoot at these freaks. Go ahead and do that. The Enclave are now fleeing. Probably the best decision you could have made, idiots. Let's continue moving this way. There we go. Alright. Swap over to the rifle. Let's start following them. I want to bring everyone this way. Oh, yeah. Come on. Last trooper remaining. Perfect. Oh, what did you drop? Military-grade circuitry. I think that's it, right? We have the scientist going this way. Not concerned with these troops. Obviously, we do not take prisoners. How is everyone? Pretty injured. Okay, we'll go tend to yourself. Not too injured. Everyone's alright, actually, for the most part. So let's get them up here. I want these people stripped. I also tend to Damon. He's only got laser burns, but there's a high chance of an infection. I don't expect him to bleed out from the lasers, but you know what I mean. Let's go ahead and start stripping all of the Enclave soldiers. We'll take their gear. What we don't take, we will end up selling, most likely. But I spotted something kind of interesting a second ago. Didn't we see something? I could have swore I saw something. Where is it? Oh, it's underneath this guy. Pick him up and move him. What kind of egg is this? A deathclaw egg. A deathclaw. It's going to hatch in 3.3 days. Now that is useful. Well, I suppose you Enclave bastards aren't so useless now, are you? Now you are. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start finishing them all off. I was expecting better from them. They outnumbered us, but I tend to underestimate just how amazing we are. I am going to build a egg place for the deathclaw egg, an egg box, because I would like to hatch it. Maybe it could be a pet for people. I don't know if it's a sentient deathclaw or if it is a non-sentient one of the I don't want to say that haven't been operated on, but a more normal one, you know what I mean. We do also need to resurrect old McDonald. Thankfully, his body wasn't too damaged, so it should be okay. And Damon, yes, you are finished getting tended to. Let's go ahead and get old McDonald. We're going to take him to the chamber to be reassembled and to be repaired, thankfully. Go ahead and get the materials in there that are needed for his repairs. And he should be back with us in 2 days. That is nice. Thank God for that. And as you can see, we lost our scrap turrets, mostly because I wasn't paying attention down towards this way. But also because scrap turrets are extremely weak. Thankfully, we did have many of our soldiers here with us. But what if we don't next time? We need some better turrets, like those laser ones we're talking about earlier. You gotta be careful now with these eggs, because I don't want a creature like this person right now. Oh, that scared me. This wild this is a wild woman with Exo-1 power armor helmet? Where the hell did she find that? Maybe off one of the Enclave here. I don't think she would have equipped it. That is highly irregular. I was very afraid she was going to eat the egg, though. Well, that's very strange that she would be wearing that. I don't think she's Enclave, though. Okay, well, keep an eye on her. Anyhow, though, let's get all of this junk hauled in, and we should be good to go, I think. We immediately started cleaning up the place a bit, with that being mostly the hauling that we had mentioned there, of all the items from the Enclave, but of course the deteriorating corpses of their troops as well. Eventually, our caravan had finally returned home, and with them they brought the neutramine that we needed, as well as the genetics. Now, as for the drug production, I'm going to be putting that off because today's episode is all about creating the perfect soldier with Super Meat Boy. By the way, I'm sure you remember our unwanted wild woman? Well, she apparently has taken off the Exo-1 helmet, which is odd, because I didn't think that wild people who had basically become animals would wear armor anymore, but nevertheless, I suppose it's ours now. However, the more we observed her, the more I began to wonder of her origin. Could she possibly be an escaped Enclave test subject? That might sound like an unreasonable, unfathomable question until you notice that her kidneys actually have an overactive adrenal gland of sorts, one that could only be achieved through mutation. Thanks to this mutation, not only would she be good at inflicting pain, but she would almost likely derive pleasure from it, with the downside of occasionally having a bit of a berserk moment. This is a genetic mutation I think we might find handy. So it was settled then Super Meat Boy would arrest this lady so that we could go about extracting this gene from her in, you guessed it, our laboratory with the gene extractor. Pretty self-explanatory. Took quite a while, but eventually we would end up ripping this mutation from her very DNA, her very being. Not to worry though, she's actually completely fine. She's just going to be in a temporary light coma for the next 3 or 4 days. It's okay. The next steps are a little bit sciencey and boring, but essentially we took all of these DNA traits that we really liked and we started splicing them together. Again, this took a little bit of time, so in the meantime we also finished that research into shields that we've been working on. Once we managed to get a few of these on every one of our soldiers, we should damn near be unstoppable. Eventually our genetic cocktail was finished and we would implement it into Super Meat Boy. And then, the perfect ultimate killing machine, our super soldier. On top of his thick super mutant skin, he now is a great shot, super immune, he has adrenal glands overactive in his kidneys, and of course he has super fast healing. The only downside is, if we keep this up, we're gonna have to stuff a never-ending feeding tube into him. Otherwise, I don't know how we're gonna keep him from starving to death. But it'll be well worth it. He is now the ultimate tool, the ultimate weapon to use against the Enclave. And any of our enemies for that matter. My son, my creation, rise now as a boy no longer, but as a man. One that is truly fit and capable of leading your brothers into combat, to conquer, to vanquish, to destroy. But I suppose if we're going to do that, you are going to need a lot more brothers to command in the heat of battle. A true, proper army of super soldiers. perhaps with some genetic modifications. But that will be next time. I'll see you later. Welcome, welcome all you wayward wastelanders to our genetic research and cloning facility. I am the officer in charge. My name is Officer. You can call me that. And this here is my boy. Well, I used to call him Meat Boy, but now he goes by the name of Meat Man, as he's all grown up, and he's really mutated into quite the genetic freak of nature. Just so you're aware, I actually collected some DNA from a super mutant, and I cloned our Meat Man here, giving him superior genetic abilities and DNA from not only that super mutant, but all super mutants. He's also quite aggressive, but he's also the leader of our super mutant army, which I must say at the moment isn't really looking like much of an army. I think we're quite a few soldiers short. But today, my friends, thanks to all of our superior genetic knowledge, as well as our wonderful laboratory, we are going to be cloning quite a few more super mutants to add to our army, finally finishing it off once and for all. But first, we do have something else to take care of. We have a human specimen who, if you watched the last episode, we actually collected DNA from. She's currently nude, so we're going to be giving her an outfit to put on, and we are going to be escorting her to the door, because we're not monsters. Even though, sure, our super mutant baby boys may look like monsters to some folks, out here in the wasteland you get quite used to these types of things. Not to worry, ma'am, he's not going to crush your head like a watermelon. You are free to go. Sorry about, forcefully removing strands of your DNA for samples for our soldiers. Hopefully you don't hold any grudges. Now, before we begin cloning new super soldiers, I'm sure many of you are guessing that I'll collect new DNA from Super Meat Man because he is genetically superior. However, his genetics make him incredibly aggressive and also make him find joy in beating the life out of someone. Well, funny enough, I prefer my skull without fractures, as well as having my brain still being inside of it. So we'll stick with the original super soldier DNA sample for the soldiers. I couldn't imagine if they all turned on us and started beating us to death. It wouldn't be good. Alright, fire up those test tubes, boys and girls, because we are about to cook, as the young kids say. We would immediately start the cloning process on all of our growth vats. I think about 15 in total, if I'm not mistaken. And just in case you've forgotten, this DNA that we're using is the original sample that we had taken from Super Meat Boy, or Meat Man now, to make the current clones that we have as the arm. So we already know that the offspring that will be growing in here will be an ample fighting force. But now comes the hard part. We have to wait for these little bastards to grow up. I wish there were a way to speed up this process, but truth be told, it's pretty fast anyhow. Alas, I suppose we'll have to wait. Luckily, though, we'll be able to keep ourselves occupied while waiting on them to grow, as we have a shit ton of work to do. Most of it being research. As you see, I want to get us some energy turrets that will be the perfect automated defense force to go along with all of our robots that we already have, our Protectrons and Mr. Handies, just in case whenever our super mutants are out on a mission. That way we can make sure that we can protect ourselves. The only little catch is we have a lot of prerequisite research that we need to complete first, and it's going to take an extremely long time. But luckily, we have plenty of time to spare. As I was working on this crucial research, though, I would have Damon go about making some new technology that our soldiers could use in the field. That's right. Mini turret backpacks. Obviously, we're not unfamiliar with these, as the vault dwellers that we were staying with for many years there actually use these quite often as well for their security force and for their adventuring teams. And I think they're going to be perfect for Meat Man and the rest of our forces. They fire autonomously, completely independent of the wearer, basically like having a robot best friend gun on your back. But we're not done there, as we do have some new tech hardware that we are making for the very first time. Unfortunately, we only have enough advanced components and other materials to make one of them, But this range shield belt is going to be amazing, again, for Meat Man, since he is the leader of our forces. This will help protect him against ranged attacks. Kinetic, energy-based, plasma, or otherwise. We also finished up our research into gunsmithing, the first of many, and I do mean many, to complete before we get our energy-based turrets. In the meantime, though, I've decided to send out a caravan to a nearby settlement of slavers. No, we're not going to be trading with them. You see, normally we're pretty neutral to slavers. We don't want to buy any slaves, but I suppose we won't impede their business practice. Normally. However, if they were to be cleared out, not only would we be doing the wasteland a just service, but nobody would mind. Could be a good opportunity to get weapons, armor, resources, etc. for our new soldiers that are coming in, as well as a chance to test Meat Man's abilities in combat. All by himself, and then off he would go, heading that way, although it is going to take quite a few days. I do want to say, though, the only reason I'm really sending him out on his own is because I love having a super soldier army, but we really haven't had the opportunity to see what one super soldier, our strongest, our leader, can really do on their own. And I think this is going to be really fun. And, you know, if we kill some slavers, set some people free in the process of doing that, oh, that's good. While we're waiting on him to arrive, though, I noticed back home at the lab we were having a little bit of an electricity issue, which also means that some of our clones are about to die. As quick as a flash, we would immediately rush to our reactor room to swiftly build yet another to hopefully power all of our growth vats, and then... shit, we're out of uranium. Scratch that. Plan B. We need a backup power source like a wood-fired generator. We quickly rushed to build that one after failing to power up another nuclear one, and I think we're okay now. Whew, that was a close call. We didn't lose a single clone, but we damn near came very, very close to losing every single one. We would have lost a lot of time, progress, and also a lot of biomass there. Well, that's what I get for being a little bit too invested and interested in Super Meat Boy's journey to kill some despicable folks. Now then, staying back on topic, with all of our new soldiers that are growing, they are going to need somewhere to sleep, are they not? And I don't expect our other soldiers to make room where they're at, especially because, well, we really don't have any more room there to expand. So down at the southern section of the laboratory, we are going to be adding in 2 brand new barracks. This should be plenty of room for the current ones growing, as well as any more if we plan to grow them. With that finished, our soldiers aren't the only things growing. We also have plenty of crops that are growing, that are just sitting out there in the field, fully grown, waiting on our Mr. Farm Handy, Old MacDonald, to harvest them. I think he could use a little bit of help, and because of that, we are going to be assembling and gestating a second Mr. Farm Handy. We got a lot of mouths to feed, and quick. But as our new mechanoid friend is assembling, it would seem Papa's little homicidal mutant has finally arrived at the damn dirty slaver settlement. First things first, we need to take a look around and see exactly what we're going to be dealing with of all the folks that we plan on spilling their blood. I will say for the most part I was none too impressed. They had many a human soldier with some mismatch armor, but they also had quite a few Mr. Gutsies as well as Protectrons. Still, nothing too interesting, except for a few of their soldiers who were wearing power armor, brandishing a large grenade launcher as well as gigantic miniguns. Now those might be a challenge, and we love challenges. Oh yes, our Super Meat Man is going to be a one-man band in this regard of attacking this base. He is extremely strong, of course, but we need to watch out for this mortar here that's going to be firing right at us. That was a good attempt. There are quite a few of them, though. They have quite a few mechanoids. Not that I'm all that concerned with the Mr. Gutsies. So it looks like some of them have flamers. A good portion of them seem to have flamers, and as we already know, there are, of course, people in power armor, so we need to be quite careful with how we approach. We are immediately moving into position here. Now, we do have the great shooting trait, so that should allow us to be basically able to hit them most of the time, I'd say. The flamer Mr. Gutsies, as we kind of discussed, we have to kind of watch how we approach them, because There we go, we took one down. The reason that we have to watch how we approach these Mr. Gutsies is because even if we are extremely strong, a super soldier, such as Meat Man here, getting caught on fire is going to cause him to rush around looking for water or whatever he can to put it out, going to lose control of him. Alright. We have some more slavers coming our way. I'm going to try not to move in before taking out their gutsies because I don't want to be caught on fire, as mentioned. That's my biggest concern at the moment. And I hear one, and I see one. We do have to be careful. This person has... Is that... Looks like T-51 power armor, so... Let's see if we can move around this way without getting caught by this Mr. Gutsy. I want to hit it with a grenade and stun it, but you know what? Blasting it into hell with a laser minigun is fine too. Oh my god, another one! Here they come. Great, great. Go, go, go. Move, move. I don't want to get caught on fire. Almost had me there, little fella. Thanks to our shield, we're also doing fine against bullets, of course. We're going to have to move through this little corridor here. They seem to be a bit nervous to come in here after us. This could be just what we need. If we could take aim at the power armor person here before they get us with that grenade launcher. Ah, that power armor is extremely tough, though. Oh, man, there we go. We're finally starting to hit. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. There's only one of me, and then there's... two of them. One with a giant minigun. Uh-oh. Alright, so we're... we destroyed the base! We destroyed it! Alright, move back. I'm gonna kill as many of them as possible. Here we go. Oh, there you went. I'm gonna kill you too. Oh, that sucks. Do I care about killing these Protectrons? Not really, but I'm gonna do it anyways. They were the Protectrons of filthy slavers, so, you know, might as well, I suppose. Now, we do have a set of, hello, what are you? T-45 power armor that we'll have to wash, of course. We do have a minigun, as you can see here. Ooh, la la. We also have quite a few rifles, a grenade launcher, a ripper, holy shit, and we also, of course, have the T-51 power armor from their other soldier. All that, by the way, and Meat Man has only sustained cracks and bruises. Oh, he really is the perfect super soldier, isn't he? Looks like these folks up here are still alive. You know what, actually? What I want to do immediately, because we are creating our clone army. We take no prisoners, obviously, but we will take prisoners' armor. Because this combat armor and stuff's going to be great. And we'll even finish off these damn dirty slavers. And we're very hungry, so we're going to go ahead and eat a fine meal. We might have to stay here for a while. I sent Meat Man trying to prove a point that, oh, we could take them all out with only Meat Man. And of course we could. I just had to play it right, which I did, and here we are. However, Meat Man's probably not going to be able to carry all his junk back on his own. So we're going to have to send a little caravan to help us out with that. I'm also going to go ahead and strip all these other soldiers so that we can get their armor. Of course, it doesn't matter. We could strip them after they're dead and just wash them, but this will save us a lot of time and effort, and we'll just be able to go ahead and give it to the clones once they're actually born. We can also check out this base. It looks like their generators are going down. Oh, I forgot they have turrets. We'll need to destroy those next. Oh, speaking of turrets, we finished research into gun turrets. Sweet. And goodbye. We'll finish off the rest of them, too. Let's check the place out a bit. Looks like it's completely encompassed with some ancient stuff. Not too concerning. We have a little bit of food. I don't expect that slavers would have anything of interest here, except maybe... Whoa, hello. A legendary flight helmet. Golden flight helmet. Pocketed as well. Now that... pocketed. Doesn't that mean... Oh, yeah, I see it now. So pocketed means it actually boosts carrying capacity by 25%, which is crazy good. Oh, we have combat armor. Now that's useful. And we have 1,228 caps in this room. Any more caps anywhere? I'll also accept NCR dollars or silver or gold or, well, quite frankly, I'll accept anything. This is an empty room. It doesn't look like there's anything else unless there's something in this tiny room, but I don't think so. Pumpkins. So we have a little bit more food. We got plenty of caps, though. We got a nice legendary golden pocketed flight helmet, and we also have some combat armor, which is cool. We also have a shit ton of armor from all of these damn dirty dead slavers. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to put a stockpile right here. I am going to start hauling all of this armor and stuff up here while we're waiting on a caravan that can actually help us hauling everything back, because that is going to be an absolute bitch, and I'm a little silly Billy for not thinking ahead of time about that, but oh, well, I digress. We'll also need to strip these power armor corpses so we can make sure we get that hauled urgently as well. But I think we're pretty much done here, except for waiting on our caravan, which I will be sending out very shortly, as well as all this hauling work, of course. Before we do that, though, I do want to point out that Mr. Meatman here was extremely excited about all the killing that he did. It really boosted his mood. A little bit depraved, but as long as it's the right people, i.e. people like slavers, I suppose there's nothing wrong with it. We would send out a 4-man super soldier team to meet him at this new settlement to help him carry everything back along with him. And so yet again we find ourselves playing the waiting game, waiting on them to arrive this time, but that's okay because we still have a lot of work to do around the laboratory. We're going to be expanding the facility a little bit on the eastern side, and the reason for this time around is because we're going to be adding in new growing zones, a decent-sized garden, or I suppose at this size we could call it some type of farm, and we are going to be growing a lot of corn and rice here. Of course, our super mutants couldn't care less about the variety of different crops in their food. Rice grows very fast, meaning we can feed them very fast, and corn has a lot once you harvest, which is going to be perfect for growing all of the little soldiers in their growing vats. And you'll also notice I added in quite a few sprinklers throughout here as well to help speed along the growth process. And as if on cue, our brand new Mr. Farm Handy was finally finished assembling by this time as well. But we can't have you working without a proper name, my friend, so we are going to be naming you Taproot, which is actually a great name suggestion from our friend Gorilla King 2452. So thank you for that, my friend, and thank you to everyone who's always suggesting names. I couldn't be more grateful to you all. As Taproot was starting to get to work in the fields, our team of super mutants was also arriving at the slavers' settlement to help out Meatman. They grabbed up all the drugs, all the caps, all the rifles, anything and everything that they could. And several days later, they would finally return back home without being ambushed or anything like that on the road. Which is funny, because normally when I do these Fallout series in RimWorld, we're always getting ambushed. I suppose people might be smart enough not to attack a gigantic super mutant, especially not 4 or 5 of them wearing power armor. Nevertheless, though, I must say that was quite the haul, as we managed to get, I think, almost every bit and piece of armor and weaponry that we had hoped to from the slaver settlement. A grand achievement. I would say all this was free, but I suppose we did pay for it in blood, huh? Not our blood, though. And that's what matters. Our soldier, Callan Kelly, actually decided to throw a party to celebrate our grand achievement and our grand occasion of beating those slavers into the dirt. Everybody came into the cafeteria and they partied for several hours. Not me, though. I had bigger fish to fry, like finishing up some research so we could finally start on energy turrets. We're almost there, folks. I also noticed that our 2-headed grizzly bear Cuddles had been partying with the folks, and it looks like she's actually very much high on go juice, drunk on alcohol, and also has, I guess, a buzz from Nuka-Cola. Jesus Christ, girl. Speaking of injectable drugs that'll make you go, 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 especially during combat, we are actually going to start synthesizing our own go juice in our little drug laboratory here, something I've been meaning to do since the last episode when we got our own neutramine, but better late than never, I suppose. I'm also going to be setting it up as a restricted zone for Cuddles, that way everybody knows not to let the damn bear in here, otherwise she'll suck up all the go juice. I think she's been drinking it. I don't even know if you're supposed to do that. And then finally, my friends, after much waiting, our little baby mutated freaks had finally been born. Of course, these little cloth-swaddled boogers are not going to be capable of killing anyone, though, so we're gonna have to stuff them back into their tubes to do a bit of growing. But this is the moment of truth to find out how many of them we're going to have, and how many of them are dead. Looks like so far there's only one of them that has died, so that's good news. Well, for all the other ones, not for us, or the dead one, obviously. Alright, you little silly billies, get back in there and finish up growing, okay? We need you big, strong, ready to murder anybody that we point you towards, okay? And as for you, my little green cadaver, I'm afraid I must introduce you to our friend butchering table so that you can help your brothers grow big and strong. With that completed and our little baby mutant fish put back in their tanks, I'm running out of metaphors here that might seem funny. We are actually going to be working on our defenses once more. You can see down here at the southern part of the base, we're building yet another high security fence with some barbed wire on top, designed specifically to keep out unwanted visitors. And of course, I liked it so much that I decided to wrap it around the entire facility, even including our little farm up around the nuclear waste pond that we should have been doing this entire time, but again, better late than never. Now nobody will be able to come through that way or to shoot at us through that way, which seemed to be quite the issue last episode. We also ended up having a bulk goods trader of random wastelanders not really affiliated with any of the local factional governments. Perfect, as we were looking to purchase some components, and we ended up getting almost 40 of them. Seems like a lot, but trust me, we're going to need them. The reason being, the laser turrets require 20 components each. Yes, 20. Speak of the devil, we actually finished the research to go about making those as well shortly thereafter, and we would waste absolutely no time installing our very first on the western entrance. Oh my, ladies and gentlemen, take it all in. This is superior automated defensive technology. Some of the best that this world, this wasteland, whatever, has to offer. I was so tickled that we could finally build them that I ended up building 3 in total, 1 at each entrance of the facility's gates. And in doing so, I also used up all the components that we had in storage, but that's okay, we'll do a trade mission or something soon. I also want to mention that we've been home since killing the slavers for quite some time at this point. I forgot exactly how long, but it was enough time for us to go about cleaning all of that armor, washing it, getting rid of the tainted debuff, and so now many of our soldiers are actually able to wear the power armor as well. Perfect timing, I might add, as it looks like we're under attack by some damn dirty ne'er-do-wells. Wait a minute, their leader, Sharp. I know that name. Isn't this the same Sharp from episode 1 that Super Meat Boy stabbed several times in the guts and basically beat the absolute dog shit out of him before stripping him and leaving him to lie out in the wasteland for dead? I think it is. I suppose he's none too happy with our treatment of him, and he's come back for revenge. It's been quite some time. He's had a lot of time to prepare. It would explain his new armor and weaponry, as well as the fact that he or somebody else has managed to Frankenstein his organs back together. Yes, well, you're not the only one who's had time to prepare, bitch boy. I'm hoping to keep this battle pretty short and sweet. They have quite a few animals with them. Mega Tardi. We have bog hounds, and we also have a tox bear. I wasn't going to be able to get everyone to inject go juice in time, so I just gave it to Meat Man. I thought that that might be good enough. I do want to make this short and sweet. It would definitely go a lot faster, though, if I could give everyone some go juice. I'm going to move half of our forces down this way. I'm actually going to move Meat Man down this way. Oh, no, not my Protectrons. I completely forgot to draft all the mechs and get them inside. You dumb little machines. I think most of them are already inside, except... son of a bitch, except for Dumpy. Here we go. Oh, my word. Alright, we've got bog hounds coming at us. Move back a bit. Let's try to save our laser turret, though. It is new. Oh my god, they're already fleeing, the cowards. Sharp, you son of a bitch, you think you're gonna get away from us? Oh, sharp. No. You definitely are not sharp. Oh, alright, move back a little, though. Damn! Get back here, you son of a bitch. Can Meat Man catch him in time? Perhaps. Stupid mega tard-eye. Damn! Ah, he's going to get away. So close, you son of a bitch. Perhaps we'll meet him again, then. We can at least kill some of his critters. There we go. Son of a oh, wait a minute. His men are trying to flee over this way. That's alright, Damon. You're trying. Well, we won't be letting them get away. Yeah, I don't think so, pal. Ooh, you have a hunter trap backpack. I'm gonna go ahead and strip all these corpses because, obviously, we want that sweet armor. That's a shame. Damn you, Sharp, you son of a bitch. I wonder what he's been doing to get such nice armor and also kind of a little bit of a crew. Did the Tox Bear get away? I guess so. Or did we kill it? I'm not seeing it anywhere. Let's go ahead and kill these bog hounds, the ones that are still alive, and we will actually eat them and feed them to our growing super soldier babies. We'll go ahead and resurrect Dumpy as well. I think we should be able to without issue. Come, Dumpy, come. You're one hell of a fighter. We can't afford to leave you. Well, you're actually one hell of a builder. You're not much of a fighter, I must say. More of a lover, perhaps. Yeah, right. We've got him in there. We'll chuck some steel in there for his repairs and reassembly. And I guess we're good. It looks like we finished off all these freaks. Or at least most of them. And we'll go ahead and get all their armor and things hauled in urgently. It won't be very long at all, I must say, either, before we have the rest of our soldiers fully grown, which is going to be wonderful. And we'll have plenty of armor for them ready to wear as well with this. As well as quite a few weapons. It looks like we've got quite a few assault rifles, maybe even some laser weaponry and what have you. Shame we couldn't get Sharp's minigun, but we also didn't get Sharp, unfortunately. Until we meet again, you dirty bastard. I suppose now it's time for a bit of cleanup, which also really involves those delicious bog hounds. They're a delicacy in this part of the world. You'll just have to take my word for it. We also began going around finishing off the attackers, as well as hauling in most of their arms and armor. During this time, I was really just doing a bit of cleanup as previously mentioned, but also, of course, letting our little super mutants grow in their vats. I really look forward to them being finished very soon. However, I also began thinking, Damon here has been with us for quite some time at this point, and sure, he's a great soldier of the Chinese Empire, but I must say, instead of a soldier, because I have so many, I think he might do us better as a right-hand man. One that could help us with scientific research, such as genetics, cloning, so on and so forth. He actually has a pretty decent intellectual skill, so that helps out a lot. I mean, we have so many robots doing constructing, hauling, cleaning, everything and anything in the laboratory, it would hardly make sense for us to have a living being doing those things. The place is basically automated. And besides, it's nice to have some company helping me out with my research. But enough of that, for it is finally the time that you've all been waiting for. Our little super mutant clone children are now super mutant clone grown men. That's right, baby, they're lean, they're mean, and by God are they green. Speaking of which, I can see a little bit too much of their greenness. How about we send them inside to go ahead and equip some of those outfits and armor, as well as weapons, of course. Ah, there we are. Now you don't all look like a bunch of filthy nudist freaks. I'm so happy to finally have our army. Although, I think they need some proper names. Absolutely perfect. Stellar, even. These names, of course, coming from some of our financial benefactors. Some would call them patrons. Truly now, my friends, we do have a super mutant, super soldier army that has been genetically engineered to be absolute killing machines. Amazing. I don't really know what to do with them all now. A lot of you guys have made suggestions, but I suppose... Oh, a conversation for another time. for now, it looks like we're gonna get to put our army to use. Let's see what we're dealing with. About 10 or so soldiers, although most of them are wearing power armor and carrying some pretty heavy weaponry. Sure, we outnumber them by quite a bit, but not all of our people have that great of armor. Can we defeat them? Oh, hell yeah, of course we can. Can we do it without getting killed? That is the kicker. Alright, we have our army just to the east of the Enclave's forces. I would let them attack so that we could use our defenses like our laser turrets, but I really don't want to end up losing one of those, and even though they would help us out quite a bit, it just isn't worth all the components. We do have everyone high on go juice. Let's get started. I'm of course going to let our meat man take first dibs here, take the lead. This is going to be very loud, I already know it, because there's so many soldiers. I'm just going to come at them right out here in the open. This is going to be a massive firefight. Here we go. Oh my god, alright. Oh, okay, so we've managed to kill one of them so far. We have another one that's down and we killed a trooper. Here we go. Alright. Oh no, we lost someone. We ended up losing one of ours. Damn it, son of a bitch. I'm gonna throw the hunter drone. Okay. Woo. Hunter drone. Okay, we killed some. Hunter drone didn't get anyone. This texture is messed up, but that's okay. Oh, our poor Dustin Berry. Oh no. Alright, look, a big silly Billy move on my part to go about just coming right at them like that, but I wanted to, you know, look, maybe I'm a little overconfident. Oh, poor Dustin Berry. You know what, we'll bury you. The first of our mutants to ever be buried, actually. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the Enclave soldiers. Many of our people are quite injured as well. We have schizo muffins who, yeah, a lot of burns, many burns there. Although it could have been much worse. We could have ended up all of us dying, unfortunately, like our friend Dustin Berry. Everyone's tending to themselves, so I think they'll be fine. We are digging the poor grave of our poor fallen soldier. But you know what? For us to have went this entire series with only one dead soldier, I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's not too bad, honestly. I really am going to. I'm just gonna say that's not too bad. But, Dustin Berry, I'm sorry, my friend. You have fallen. You didn't really have any armor. I mean, you had a combat harness. And are you wearing the... You had the pocketed golden flight helmet. Well, we're going to, listen, respect to our soldiers, of course. But I'm going to strip that helmet from you. Of course, we can rewash this. That pocketed legendary helmet. That's probably the issue with gold being so soft. But we will lay you down to rest, my friend. You served us well. You've only been on this earth for a very short period of time, and most of it was inside a test tube, but by God Almighty, you've earned our respect, and you were a true fighter. I suppose we could all enjoy some meals and time and company to celebrate the occasion of defeating the Enclave yet another time, finishing up and building our facility as well as our army. But I suppose, with all this done, what do we do now? What do we do with our clones? A lot of you guys have mentioned selling them off. I don't know if I like that idea because, you know, it would probably end up being slavers and people who would purchase them. So, I don't know. Maybe we rent them out as a mercenary service or something for people that we approve of, or a defensive force for caravans. Be sure to let me know what you'd like to see them doing throughout our Fallout RimWorld universe. And I want to thank you guys, of course, for watching this series as it comes to an end with this episode. I truly have had so much fun, and I very much appreciate all of you. But my friends, I suppose that this is goodbye for now. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I suppose I should pay back the old overseer for lending me some constructrons and what have you, shouldn't I? Really, without him doing that, this whole operation never would have gotten off the ground.